What's on your wish list for the future, either for your institution, for surgery in general? Where should we go next?
I think if you, again, I probably have less of a bird's eye view than Dr. Joseph. But I think if you continue to create this space, like the culture of surgery has changed like so dramatically from like 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago. It's like, I'm sure almost unrecognizable to people. And I think like some of those, changes are really positive, right? I think the emphasis on creating culturally competent surgeons is really important. I still think we have like a lot of work to do, especially in like some of the surgical subspecialties. Orthopedic surgery comes to mind, so does cardiac surgery. Some transplant surgery also comes to mind in terms of being more inclusive of women and minorities. I think that in order to do that, we need this kind of like next generation of leaders to be upwards facing. I think when I applied to medical school, I checked on the Association of Women in Surgery, and there were like 20 chairs who were women, and that was in 2018 out of how many programs in the country. I feel like it's a big number. It's not a big percent. I'd be interested to see how that number is now and 5 years from now. So I would like to see that, like, more diversity at every level of like the spectrum, from like late career to mid-career, early career, residents, medical students. I think that's top of my wish list.
Yeah.
I would also add that I agree with Les. There's been a lot of positive changes in surgery. And however, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but I just sort of feel like I'm a little nervous about the political climate right now. I've said this before. And so I just feel like this is the moment where we have to keep our foot on the gas. And so I think this is why it's so important, why the work that AOSA is doing is so important, why it's important to continue the education component, allyship is important, and surgery departments need to create these safe spaces, because, this is not just something that is unique to surgery. This is I almost feel like this is what is indicative of what's going on in our country, and we need to, what we do here can impact what's going on outside of, the hospitals, the four walls of our hospitals. And we need to make sure that our patients are getting great care, and that they feel safe when they come into our hospitals. So I just feel like we can't just, for those of us who are not LGBTQ, we need to understand and be allies and be able to speak up. We can't just be silent, and we need to be aware of what's going on. And so I think that's why, it's important that we teach our medical students, our residents, our faculty, are aware of our colleagues that are LGBTQ, but also the impact of healthcare in LGBTQ communities.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of try to convince myself that what's going on in the public sphere is the last gasp of a dying worldview, but I don't know that that's really true. And I do think that legislative advocacy and is incredibly important, but I also think sort of the worse the public sphere gets, the more important it is what our institutions do.
Exactly.
And it is especially sharp, I think, for those of us in healthcare to have laws and policies that adversely affect our direct care of our patients, our surgical care of our patients, and our medical care of our patients.